You clicked on this video because you're learning Japanese or you want to start learning Japanese. And will Duolingo help you? Well, I don't know. That's for you to decide. These are the 5 most important parts, I think, of learning Japanese: your learning style, making it fun, seeing progress, sources, spending money, and having time to do it. I thought I already knew what my learning style was, but I think our learning styles change and adapt over time. I was just kind of winging it and doing what I thought would help me personally to learn Japanese, and so I knew that writing things out and listening was a part of my learning style, but I didn't realize that visual learning style as well. I definitely knew about the auditory style that I have, so I feel like the test was really accurate. I think what's really important is seeing progress in yourself for learning a new language, so mastering at least this in the very beginning, Hirigana and Katakana, writing it out. I basically just wrote out Hirigana over and over and over, especially ones that I thought looked similar to each other, and I would just say how it was pronounced as I was writing it out, and this is what helped me to land it inside of my brain. I also picked up this book, which was about $17 from Amazon, but to be honest with you, I got really bored of it halfway through, and I felt like there was just too many lessons and too much information, and the reading was a little bit hard to do. A year later, and now I've picked it back up and I'm finishing it through and reading it so much better. It's probably because when I first started learning in Japanese, I hadn't really taken lessons in anything in a while. I watched this video probably 100 times until I really got it remembered in my head. And then of course I also spent drills writing things out, katakana that looked similar to each other, and just writing it out and saying it out loud as I was writing it. Everyone says that learning a language should be fun, and you need to find a way to make it fun for yourself. I felt like if I could master at least katakana and hiragana, writing it out and being able to read it, that would be an accomplishment, and it would be progress that I would be proud of. And so another really cool thing that made me really impressed with myself later on was that when I was listening to my favorite songs on Spotify, my favorite Japanese songs, there's actually a section where you can go and look at the lyrics and basically treat your Spotify like it's karaoke. And before, of course, everything just looked like some alien language, characters I could not understand at all. And then eventually, as I was looking at the lyrics, I could actually read a good 30% of them. Of course, not any kanji yet, but I was able to recognize and read the katakana and the hiragana. And then that became kind of an audio-visual learning practice that was fun for me as well. By the way, I absolutely love city pop. I think it's so fun to listen to. I love 80s music in English, and it's got its own style in Japanese. But I have to say that listening to this group, this band, really helped me with pronunciation, and they really enunciate every single lyric very clearly, and I like the way that they pronounce their Japanese, so I think it's great for listening. There was money that I spent on this book, some apps, time that I spent in this book, time that I spent on some apps that I probably could have saved that money, or I could have allotted that time elsewhere more efficiently. I wish things were a bit more clear-cut. You have to figure out what's fun for you, take a learning style quiz, figure out what your learning style is, go simply so that you can see and track progress. And then in terms of sources and spending money, you don't have to spend any money, but I will show you what I have bought so far. So the famed purple RTK book, I feel like you could pick it up maybe much later on, maybe in your second or third year of learning Japanese, depending on how fast you learn. This is definitely a cute and fun read though for remembering kanji. This next book I'm absolutely obsessed with. I think it's a really great read. It has a lot of drills and these little quizzes at the end of each section, and I think in an abstract way it's helping me really grasp the order of subject, object, verb, as well as the placement of particles and just patterning in general. Of course, with this book and the last book, I wouldn't spend too much time trying to turn what you're reading in these books into lessons or writing things out. But I do reread sections of this book over and over until I really feel I've gotten the hang of it. Sentence patterns as well as particles are, I would say, 2 of the most important things in Japanese, as well as verb conjugation, and nobody really talked about how important these were in some of the beginning videos that I watched in terms of learning Japanese and starting out. These are what my new goals are in learning Japanese. Originally, I thought, oh, it would be so cool if I could be a translator, but of course that is like a very lofty and like big goal. It's a tall order. If you don't really know how to explain like basic rules of like vocabulary, or you're not too proficient even in English language arts. Like, I think I'm pretty good in English, but of course I'm not at any type of like university level. I want to be able to read manga, which usually has the kana, which is like the little characters over top of the kanji in Hirigana or Katakana. I want to be able to speak with people in Japan and understand what people are saying, understand what is happening in anime or in like a Japanese movie or TV show, and really just communicate. So obviously, in order for me to do all of that, I need to understand particles, sentence structure, and I need to get with some survival phrases. There's honestly so many YouTube video lessons, and you just have to test a few out and figure out which ones actually help you. Like, I feel like these ones actually are helpful because if you're planning to travel or move to Japan, these are real life scenarios that you'll find yourself in. I do have a little bit of ADHD. I find myself getting bored really quickly and easily, so I've created a few more methods for learning, which I find fun. I will write out like the contents of something that I'm learning. Like, for example, I got these flashcards for Christmas, and then the next day, to cement it and rinse and repeat, I'll go over what I wrote in highlighter as I say it out loud, and then that way, that following evening when I go over the flashcards, like, this is a summary of what's on the flashcards that I've written out in this book that I got from the dollar store. Then I can kind of review it 3 different ways: hearing and speaking it out loud, writing it once, reading and writing it the next day, going over it with the highlighter, and then reading it and looking at it again on the flashcards before I go to bed. 5th month. So then May 1st is 5月1日. 5月1日. I go to a Japanese learning school every Friday night, which is a group of adults learning for an hour and 45 minutes with a native Japanese speaker, teacher, and it's great. They have cultural events as well at this school throughout the year. Now, this textbook has no English in it. However, on another note, I find that writing things out in English sometimes helps me to remember them because obviously English is my first language. I also watched in a YouTube video that adults should be trying to learn like their children, and that our brain has natural abilities to make connections when we watch like something simple like cartoons. We hear like a phrase being spoken, and then we see that actual phrase being acted out, and it's something simple because it's basically a children's show. So these 2 shows I find are so adorable, and I'm happy to like watch them over and over and over again. And then I recently discovered this YouTube channel which I'm obsessed with, and I find it like so practical for like survival scenarios and survival phrases for travel and for also moving there. I wish I would have found out about Japarot earlier, and these 3 shows, because they're all really cute, entertaining, and I'm happy to watch them over and over. But I watched like Love is Blind Japan and like all these like Japanese movies and TV shows, and I think that helped me for listening and like passive learning with pronunciation, but they were just too complicated for retaining. I also highly recommend this podcast. I listen to this when I'm on my way to work or like driving my kid to school or picking him up, and I find it really great for passive learning or active learning, where I repeat podcast that I listen to over and over, saying it out loud until I've got it. So that's my journey with learning Japanese and my current process. I'll let you know how the process evolves over time and how I'm doing, and I would love to hear from you as well so that we can help learn this language together. Bye for now.